most e-commerce brands out there end up plateauing at $50,000 or $100,000 per month in revenue. And after managing over $60 million in ad spend, I can tell you one thing. Seven-figure brands don't use some secret hacks or some secret strategies to scale beyond $100,000, $500,000, even $1 million a month. Rather, they just do a few specific things that most brands overlook. And today, I'll break down exactly what those few things are. Now, the first thing you want to understand is going from 6 figures per month or even per year to 7 figures in total does not come from just clicking more buttons on your Google Ads dashboard, does not come from just doing more things. This is, I believe, one of the biggest misconceptions so many e-commerce brand owners have out there. They believe that if they just do more things, just spend more money, magically they're going to go from 6 figures to 7 and even 8 figures. And this could not be further away from the truth, because you see, the way you're approaching scale itself, that's where the problem even arises. The mindset and the overall psychology of how you approach scale determines a lot of things. What you want to understand is the 7-figure e-commerce brands, they don't treat Google Ads like some kind of slot machine you would find at a casino. Rather, they view it as a performance system. They view it as a system where they need to go inside each part of the system to make better, to improve, to optimize, because eventually when all parts of the system come together, that's when scale as a whole is achieved. It's not like you're just going out and gambling money away. Rather, it's more of a strategic approach which you must take, which allows all of these pieces of the puzzle, so to speak, to connect together. And one of the biggest things 7-figure e-commerce brands do is they optimize for the lifetime value of a customer rather than just the upfront one-day return on ad spend. This is kind of one of the biggest problems most of the e-commerce brands face, especially when it comes to Google Ads. They're focused on the front-end profitability levels only. And don't get me wrong, if you're absolutely not profitable on the front end, by all means, that's the number one thing you should be focusing on. However, once that's out of the way, once that's achieved, then there's other parts of the business that you need to put more time, effort, and energy into, such as the lifetime value of your customers, to improve those things, to increase those things, so that your overall CPAs can go lower and lower. And even if they are to increase for whatever reason, your brand does not become unprofitable overnight because of that change in the upfront profitability. But one formula which I figured out over the years, which actually helps tremendously when it comes to scaling to 7 figures and beyond, is a strong product feed combined with high converting creatives along with a buying intent structure is going to lead to profit-based scaling and a better retention overall. What this essentially means is if you start from the foundation, from the ground up, by building yourself a strong product feed with the right product titles, images, Google Merchant Center promos, reviews, so on and so forth, when that foundation is strong, and when you combine that with the highest converting creatives, whether you're using Performance Max, Chems, or even Search, or even YouTube, as long as your creatives, meaning what you do in the asset group section, the approach you take, as long as those are high quality and you are going after a high buying intent audience, you're going to be focused on scaling based around profits. Because when you do these first 3 things right, it's almost difficult not to be more profitable along the way. And once that profit is achieved, then you can actually start scaling to the very next level. That's when retention will come in and actually improve, because now you're approaching with a very solid foundation in mind. You're building from the ground up. Most brands, from what I see when I do audits under my Google Ads agency, they're focused heavily on the buttons. They're focused heavily on the Google ad strategy rather than actually focusing on what's actually working. And this is why they're stuck at the 6-figure level, which, by the way, if you run a brand doing $50,000 or more per month in revenue, you want to scale to the next level with Google Ads, go onto my website at yourmarketing.com and schedule a completely free call with me, and let's see how we can potentially work together and make that happen. But what most 7-figure brands are doing at this point of time that you want to understand is most of these brands are focused on product feed mastery. They're optimizing product titles, using custom labels, fixing disapprovals fast. They're doing basically everything that they possibly can to let the Google Merchant Center and to let the Google Ads algorithm know that they're a real brand. They're a high quality brand that actually cares about their customers. Because the moment you let these things slip, the moment you allow a lot of disapprovals, a lot of violations to come into your ad account, these things act as parasites and they start to eat within your ad accounts, within your Merchant Center, and pretty soon your entire system is damaged, it's not working at 100% power. So to avoid that, you have to disallow these parasites from entering the flow, from entering the space, and taking over your ideal strategy. But in addition, you need to focus more on simple and scalable campaign structures. I often say this, but a lot of the brands that are at the 7-figure and beyond level, they actually don't have 20, 30, 50, 100 different campaigns running. Rather, they have maybe 2, 5, 10, maybe 20 maximum campaigns running, and they're scaling beyond 7 figures a month or 7 figures a year. This is simply because they're allowing the budget that they have allocated for their website to be properly spent across the right campaigns without basically spreading the budget too thin or overdoing things and having way too much stuff going on all at the same time. The biggest thing you can do to scale from 6 to 7 figures is to actually simplify your approach, make it more simplistic, because not only does this make it easier for your budget to be distributed appropriately across all of your campaigns and whatnot, but it also allows the algorithm itself to focus on the right things to spend the money where it should be spending. But the 7-figure brands, they don't just let the campaign spend money and not do anything about it. Rather, they're constantly testing new things, new headlines, value propositions, going after different types of audiences, changing the audience signals, and testing within the asset groups, so on and so forth. If you are basically reusing the same approach, reusing the same asset groups over and over again, it's no surprise that you're not scaling beyond 6 figures. To really scale to the next level, you need to be introducing proper A/B testing systems, because these systems is actually what allows your brand to actually end up scaling to the very next level. But you also have to be aggressive with the type of scaling and the type of testing you're actually doing. And the best way to be aggressive is by implementing and incorporating different types of previous data. For example, what we like to do with a lot of the brands we work with, we like to incorporate their customer lists within the Google Ads account in the back end. We just upload their best customers in the back end, or we connect GA4 to their Google Ads account, or maybe other types of tracking softwares like Triple Wheel, Hyros, etc. directly to Google Ads, because this supplies the Google algorithm a lot of data in the back end, and that then makes it much smarter at a much faster rate. So instead of trying to just go after cold traffic from the get-go, you want to allow the system to use whatever data is available already out there and then become smarter based off of that data. But for the 7-figure brands, the best thing that they do, the number one thing they do, is they have a balance between control and automation. They're guiding the algorithm, not over optimizing it, nor are they just ignoring it. And you either mess with the campaigns too early or you leave them untouched for weeks. Most brands stuck at the 6-figure level, they're approaching in this one or the other approach where they're not really doing much or they're doing too much. Rather, you want to have a set time period of when you're touching things, when you're optimizing, and you're not really ignoring things, but at the same time, you're not overdoing it and just making changes and updates way too quickly, because this can destroy the algorithm and the scale just as much. So you have to keep things a bit of a balance between control and automation. But when you combine all of these things and you do them together over time, that's when Google's algorithm actually starts rewarding you with better quality traffic, higher quality traffic, which is going to convert at a much better level. And eventually that's what allows you to go from 6 figures to then 7 figures and beyond. But again, if you run a brand doing 50,000 or more per month in revenue, you need some extra help scaling to the next level with Google Ads, go onto my website at yourmarketing.com, schedule a completely free call with me, and let's see how we can potentially work together and make that happen.